Good afternoon, my friends from Malaysia, and greetings to all the friends from all over the world. Welcome to my another series of transformative learning experience. And this podcast is dedicated for my own conversation and learning from the graduates of my Train the Trainer program. And today I'm honored to have my good friend, Dr. Zarina, who I met a couple of Dr. Zarina dah 2 tahun ya. We met some time ago, and when I first met a medical professional and a lecturer, I was curious what she's going to share. And I was so touched with her passion, commitment, professionalism to enhance breastfeeding practices and to support mothers on breastfeeding. And more conversation with Dr. Zarina helped me to appreciate and understand the significance of this topic for the entire nation building. Because the foundation for health, both physical and emotional, starts from the day one. Dr. Zarina, thank you very much for taking your busy hours from your clinic, and it's a great honor to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prabha, for having me. I'm really honored to be one of your guests on your awesome show. Congratulations for the live show that you've been doing.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, it's awesome because of people like you. I'm honored. Well, I'm sure I know you quite well, but I'm sure the audience, our audience from all over the world, will be curious to know who is this Dr. Zarina and her unique subject of helping mothers. Can we start with a brief introduction of your background and your medical practices, doctor?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Prabha. So it actually started 30 years ago. That was the time when I decided to become a doctor. So my mother motivated me to continue to pursue my dreams. And then that's when I started to have my undergraduate in UKM. Then I worked at KKM for about 4 years in the hospitals. And then in the emergency for about 2 years. And that's when I met my husband, Dr. Sharul. We got married. And then suddenly after getting married and having my first child, having breastfeeding issues and all, I decided to leave Ministry of Health. And then I started to become a lecturer. That's where I learned how to teach and how learning and teaching is important. That's how I learned during my master's in UKM to become a medical lecturer in USIM, University Sains Islam Malaysia. So my 8 years in USIM actually taught me teamwork, organization skills, talking to people, and then God has better plans for me, I guess. So 8 years as a lecturer, I left, and that's when we founded Gravity Peace together, me and Dr. Sharul, my husband. So that's when I learned that I actually love the topics of gentle birthing, breastfeeding, and gentle parenting. And in 5-6 years back, we opened up Clinic Family Gravity Peace with the objective of giving back to community what we have learned and experienced as a medical doctor, as parents, as having children. And I guess breastfeeding is one of the topics that is actually still needing a lot of help by the community. So back in 2021, I actually attended 2 courses. One is Dr. Prabha's PPP, and also I pursued my dream to become a lactation consultant. After 5 years, I passed the exam, and now with this title, Clinic Family Gravity Peace is not only a general practice, it also is a place whereby parents and young mothers get help, because breastfeeding needs a lot of help. So it's a medical clinic with breastfeeding services. And now we have expanded to have a
Nice.
clinic and also a gravidities breastfeeding center above the clinic for education purposes. So that's how I am here. And yeah, I hope that entices the audience to listen to me more after this.
Of course, of course, of course. By the way, friends, whoever is listening to us, please take this opportunity to write whatever questions you may have. I'm sure Dr. Zarina will be more than happy to optimize the time available to answer you. Anyway, you know where to find Dr. Zarina. We'll share her clinic links with all of you in this show. Dr. Zarina, we are so glad your mother encouraged you and your wonderful husband, my friend, Dr. Shahrul, and I'm sure many other people inspired you to be a doctor. And we, the humanity, if I may say, is lucky to have a wonderful person like you in this profession, more so helping mothers. I'm so touched. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
after 8 years of lecturing, when I
Yeah.
saw your profile
Mm.
to join our Train the Trainer program, I was quite curious. Yeah, she's a lecturer with years of experience. I'm just wondering, what inspired you to join our TTT, and did you really learn anything new?
Ah, yes, I did, Dr. Prabha. Okay, yes. Teaching and learning during the undergraduate and also during my masters is different. Okay, so I want when I'm in gravidities, I have another wish for me to actually approach corporates. So when I wanted to approach a corporate, I was thinking I need to have some sort of a license for me to help giving courses in the corporate world. So that's why, among all the trainers, God has helped me choose Dr. Prabha to become my trainer. Okay, so that's how I ended up to be at your course. So I wanted to conduct breastfeeding courses for working mothers in the corporate sector. So I believe by becoming a HRDF certified trainer, this is how it can make it easier. Okay, so what I learned a lot, Dr. Prabha. So let me tell you something the two key lessons that I brought back that I know now that adults learn in a different way from the young ones, and that multiple ways of teaching and learning is important to get the message across to the adults. That's number one. Number two, I learned that storytelling and sharing life experiences makes a big impact, to so that they will remember that whatever they learn, it is actually related to their life. So it will create a lasting memory in whatever we tell them or whatever we teach them during the course. So that's what I learned. And till today, I use the same method. Whenever I'm giving my talks, so whenever I see my patients, it's all about sharing your own experience. And that makes, I hope it will make a better impact or better results to whomever I am talking to. So yes, I learned something despite being a lecturer for the past 8 years. We never
One,
stop learning, Dr. Prabha. We never stop learning. We want to improve ourselves all the time.
indeed, indeed, doctor. I can still remember your learner persona, Ain and Adam, and the story. Whenever I have an opportunity in my classes, I always introduce Ain and I always introduce you on sharing.
Oh
You
my
know,
goodness.
yeah, that's so impactful. At least for me, when I do sharing with my friends, and when you shared Ain's dilemma, Ain's pain, Ain's conflict, no, I could realize there are so many people. When I told you that I told my wife that I'm having a conversation with Dr. Zarina. She shared, we had our first baby in 94, 29 years ago,
Right.
and then my wife said, how lucky she was because both my father, my mother, her mother-in-law were there in my place and grandmother was there for conversation, consulting, and she also said, I did quite a bit of help. I'm glad she remembered. No, benda-benda kecil, small things like mopping the floor, take care of the children, whatever we can. And I realized when my wife said she could be so tiring, the whole experience, but the fact that there's some support helped her a lot. No,
Yes, correct.
and
We
when
will
you
talk about that.
mentioned, yeah, oh, exactly. And those days we had neighbors, friends, and community, but now people like Ayn and Adam, for the benefit of audience, Ayn and Adam is a persona that Dr. Zarina created to give an impression about professionals who are away from, in Malaysia, we call kampung, meaning their hometown, and
Mhm.
living in a condominium without much social contacts with the neighbors and so on. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity for many professionals, young people, mothers, and their family members on addressing this great issue. Dr. Zarina, if I may continue, may
Yes.
I know what is the current state of breastfeeding in Malaysia?
Okay. If we look into the literature, yeah, back in 2012, Malaysia was one of the countries that actually agree with World Health Organization on the global nutrition target. They have been discussing about this. 2012 is about more than 10 years ago, right? So they targeted by 2025, 50% or more babies would be exclusively breastfed. Okay, so in 2021, the statistics showed that Malaysia has a prevalence of 40% of babies who were exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months. Okay, so we are not that far from the target of WHO. However, there's still more work to do, and I realize that these numbers are rising. Okay, this is actually the general statistic in Malaysia. Some areas have more than 50%. Okay, but generally, Malaysian babies, 40% is actually breastfed up to 6 months. So what does it mean by exclusively breastfed, Dr. Prabha?
Mhm.
Exclusively breastfed simply means the baby is being given only breast milk, nothing else. No food, no water until they turn 6 months. Only we start them with solids, and we encourage the mother to breastfeed until 2 years. That is the policy of breastfeeding by WHO and Ministry of Health. Even in the Quran, it is mentioned. It is actually the right of the baby is to be breastfed until they are 2 years. So why is this important? Why I think WHO put that they only see the 6 months figure, not 2 years, is because during the first 6 months is the most important time for the baby to grow healthily. Okay, it's actually the most important time for the brain to grow and to prevent them from diseases. So that's why they take that. So the statistic in Malaysia shows 40% of Malaysian babies are fully breastfed, but there's still a lot of work to do. We need to encourage more moms to actually breastfeed until 2 years. Yeah, so that particular exclusive 6 months breastfeeding has a large impact on the child's development. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Listening to you, I realize there's a lot of employers out there
Hmm.
who wants to support
Yeah.
their employees, and I've seen one or two, organizations who are very committed in supporting this. I'm sure there are many,
Uh-huh.
but my friends there in the corporate world, the leaders, the HR, the CEOs, if you want to retain talent and you want to help your employees to empower the mothers with a good facilities for breastfeeding, Dr. Zarina will be the person to help to create awareness to the mothers, to support, and more importantly, to guide them and answering any ways for them to be more comfortable at workplace. The worst case scenario is mothers, great talent who need to resign to take care their babies. And I
Yeah,
think with support from people like Dr. Zarina, you can balance between working and also taking care their breastfeeding needs. So you'll
correct.
find Dr. Zarina to support you. And she's a HRD Corp certified trainer, and she can customize this training for your organization's needs. And Dr. Zarina, you did mention about how the baby's breastfeeding, at least for the first 6 months, better still if for the 2 years or so,
Mhm.
enhance their brain and general development of the babies. I'm curious to know more about it. If you can share some insight on that.
Yes, because the breast milk, it contains a lot of nutrients. No formula milk can come close to the breast milk. Okay, so yes, it has the carbohydrate, the protein, the fats, but it's not just this. Okay, the fats, they actually contains DHA for the growth, the brain growth. Okay, and the proteins is not just to build muscle, it has cancer killing cells.
Wow.
Okay, it has cancer killing cells and it's called a protein in the breast milk. Okay, so it has protection for the baby, and even for the carbohydrate, it's not just to give energy. There are also prebiotics inside it. I know the human milk oligosaccharides, partly for the immunity of the baby and partly for the brain growth. And all the vitamins and minerals in the world that you know of is there inside the breast milk. So by giving them breast milk is supposed to be the best, the gold standard nutrition for the first 6 months. And we know that baby's brain grows the most during the first year. So which is the best nutrient for the baby for them to grow is by just giving breast milk. And it's not just for the baby's health, it's also for the mother's health. So when the mother is breastfeeding, they also get the benefits by keeping them healthier, keeping them happier. The hormones of breastfeeding makes them, the oxytocin that's running is actually a love hormone. So if let's say the mothers continue to pump at work, pumping, meaning expressing the breast milk, the oxytocin keeps running in their body. That makes them happier. That makes them a better productive worker. Apart from that, for the long term protection, the mothers are protected against cancer of the breast and cancer of the uterus. Cancer, yes, because these things we some of us may know, might be aware of it, but are we doing something about this? Are we giving support to all the women out there to breastfeed? So let's say if the mother breastfeed the baby while working, it the mother is actually making sure that the baby is healthy. When the baby is healthy, there's no chance for the mom to take leave or and to take care of the sick baby, isn't it? So they
Exactly.
get to come to work every day with a peace of mind, knowing that their baby is getting the best from their breast milk, and that's how they actually continue the bonding. You know, when they are pumping, they're thinking about their baby, they're bonding with their baby, even though they are pumping. You know, the love flows into the breast milk, and when they come back, when they meet their babies, they continue the bonding at home. So both mom and baby is going to be healthy. It's not just for the baby, also for the father as well. Finances will be much covered. Much, I mean, it's not going. You're not going to have to buy formula milk every month. You know, it's not that cheap, isn't it, Mr. Dr. Prabha, to buy formula
Exactly.
milk? And yeah, knowing that formula, there's a lot of issues. Babies can have lots of allergies and all, which we can prevent by giving breast milk.
Wow. Wow.
Is that
With
too
so
much?
much of, yeah, no, I'm absorbing, right? I especially when you said during the process of breastfeeding, the mother is sharing the love and the brain chemicals like oxytocin, if I remember correctly.
Correct,
This
Dr.
would
Prabha.
definitely add value for the employees to be happy and happy employees. And you brilliantly mentioned how it affects productivity, how it affects mothers, reducing turnover, medical leaves, etc. So we are
Mm-hmm.
here, we have one great formula to create a healthy baby, happy mother, happy employee, more productive employees, reducing the probability of a disease, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It is such a logical reason, yet I'm wondering why more than 60%, or at least about 60% of mothers, if the statistics which says around 40% is the current state in breastfeeding in Malaysia, mothers, I hope we heard from the expert, a global expert, Dr. Zarina, on this subject. Don't be victim of any advertisement of any formula milk, no matter who the brand ambassador of this advertisement is. She is the expert, and she crystal clearly explained there is no other milk anywhere closer to the mother's breast milk.
Personal.
I hope this is crystal clear. Dr. Sarina, despite all this knowledge, I'm sure professionals like you, healthcare professionals, and grandparents, and holy
Mm-hmm.
books like Holy Quran, and I'm sure many other literature mentioned these thousands of years,
Mm-hmm.
yet we only have about 40%. What are the common challenges in breastfeeding, especially for working mothers?
Okay, what I see from the experience that I've seen during the last 5 years in my clinic, yeah, most of them have a lack of confidence. They are able to continue breastfeeding when they go to work. Sometimes they may ask me, Doctor, what's the best formula? Because I'm going to start work in 2 weeks' time. So I said, what's the problem, mommy? Why do you want to start formula when you are breastfeeding well? So they said they might not have the time, they might not have the ability, they don't know how to continue breastfeeding after work, and they feel that they cannot do it. So it's all lacking of confidence and lacking of awareness and knowing what to do. Okay, and they feel that they don't have time to pump because of their work, and they fear that their breast milk may not be enough, and then the caretaker might say to them that, oh, you don't have enough milk, I have to start. So these are the things that is in their mind. Okay, and sorry to say this, but there are some unsupportive family members. Okay, some unsupportive colleagues, some unsupportive employers when they talk about breastfeeding. So I recently saw one mother who came to see me for the second child. Okay, she was breastfeeding her first child very well up to 2 years. That was about 3 years ago when she came to see me for the second child for another breastfeeding problem. And then she said she need to stop just because her employer won't allow her to pump at the workplace, and it's the same employer, and because she is shifted to another department that requires a lot of her time, she couldn't continue to pump. I have been talking to her and I've said, is there anything that we can do about this? Do you want me to write a letter for your employer to talk about all this breastfeeding? She said no. So I just have to respect her wish to just stop breastfeeding and just start the baby on formula. So this is the issues that they have out there, is a reality. And apart from this, Dr. Prabha, the challenges, if let's say the mothers are working very far, stress on the road, traffic jam, that can cause stress as well to the mother. One of the mother that I knew, she had to travel from KL to Seremban on her first day of work. Suddenly she developed inflammation of the breast, we call mastitis. She just reported to duty one day, and then the next day she had to take an medical leave because she had um, inflammation of the breast, and then she had fever and all because of the stress of long traveling the stress of work. Okay, and because when they don't have time to pump, the breast become full and gorge, and they become unwell. This is the time when they started to give up, especially when they didn't know where to find help. Okay, so I am glad that the mothers that I'm seeing, sometimes they come to me again for the second child, for the third child, to get their problem solved. And then sometimes they also tell their friends, because I ask them, how do you know about gravidities? They say, oh, these friends recommended, that my colleague recommended. So I'm glad that now the mothers are becoming more aware to find help. So these are the challenges that we know the working mothers are facing. So it's all about having to know what to do and when to get help. That is the thing. If we can tell this to all working mothers, you are able to continue breastfeeding even at work. Breastfeeding will never be smooth. It's a marathon of 2 years. There will bound to be problems, but along the way, if you know where to get help, you will be able to solve it and you will be able to continue. And you must know that your niat, start to think and say to yourself that I want to breastfeed my baby, that is your number one motivation for you to continue throughout the 2 years.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Listening to you, Dr. Zarina, you reminded me the meaning of the word guru, if you recall.
Ah,
Gu means ignorance in the ancient Indian language called Sanskrit. Gu means ignorance.
hmm,
Ru means removal of the ignorance with
mhm.
light of knowledge, Nur. And you are the light of knowledge to many mothers, because unfortunately today social media, some people just read one page and produce a TikTok, and many people are claiming to be expert with YouTube and so on. Unfortunately, overload of information is creating more confusion.
Correct.
And I believe.
Sometimes,
Go ahead, please.
sometimes I see these mothers. They have, like you said, they go to TikTok to learn something or watch a YouTube, but they say eventually it's not the same, Dr. Prabha. They will need to get help face to face. I respect them for getting knowledge, for wanting to know more about breastfeeding, and it's good that they have the insight that watching TikTok and videos is not going to help them to solve their problems. So,
Exactly.
but learning is important. Then I told them, learn from the right resources. Find the right place for you to find the good knowledge or the right knowledge about breastfeeding. Yeah, so sorry to interrupt, Dr. Prabha.
No problem at all. I mean, you brought up a very important point. Yeah, the whole idea of learning is good, but what is the source, right?
Yeah,
Because there's with all kind of technology, all kind of using canggih punya word lah, if I may call that, yeah, all the sophisticated words. Sometimes many people maybe seems like an expert. So I'm suggesting to mothers, husband, employers, this idea, knowledge, awareness on breastfeeding is a critical subject. Dr. Zarina has brilliantly explained how the process of breastfeeding creates a happy mother, a happy employer.
yep,
So, with due respect, whoever the employers who are perhaps misled or pushing the mother and not creating an environment for breastfeeding, I hope they think again. I hope they get expert like Dr. Zarina, and I'm sure, I believe there could be many more people within the Ministry of Health and other experts. Get the right help, because they are not only medical practitioners. In Dr. Zarina's case, she's a mother, she's a professional. So she appreciates the context of the mother, she appreciates the context of a professional, and she also runs a medical practice, a commercial entity, how it also supports the business sense of it. So this is such an important, and I'm so glad you shared the cases like when a mother is stressed. At the end of the day, whenever an employee is stressed, the consequences to the productivity, the consequences to the teamwork, the consequences to the psychological safety of the environment will be affected. So the creator has given us a brilliant idea of breastfeeding. The process at workplace, for example, pumping and creating all the infrastructure to make sure the breast is, all the refrigeration facilities, clean space for the mother to pump her milk and so on,
Mhm.
does not only make us a better human being, it makes pure business sense. To retain
Correct.
talent, I'm sure great mothers who are great employees would love to work in an organization who care for them, not only as an employer, but also as a mother. And I hope leaders who are listening to this, ministries of women, ministry of human resource, and so on and so forth, I hope we create more awareness, because for a great country like Malaysia, if only 40% of the babies are enjoying this wonderful benefit of breast milk, 60% of the babies are deprived. I think all of us have responsibility to do something, and we are grateful for people like Dr. Zarina who make this a calling, if I may call that, to help mothers. And thanks for sharing those uh, challenges. And I'm sure there are many more where the mothers and the support system, including the husband, employers, the family members, to do that. So, Dr. Zarina, from your experience, as I mentioned, as a mother, as a coach, as a friend to many mothers, what are your recommendations to new mothers about breastfeeding, especially when they are about to go to work?
Okay. So we were talking about awareness, isn't it, Dr. Prabha?
Exactly.
So for new mothers, this is the time for you to start learning also. You can start to learn about breastfeeding even during pregnancy. Okay, go for classes, antenatal classes or breastfeeding classes that you know of. In Malaysia, there's a lot. There's physical class, there's online classes. Even I can do also private classes in my setting for those pregnant couples. Yeah, so prepare well. You know, when you already have your baby and then you are going. Now we have 3 months maternity leave, so a few months before you're going back, start to prepare yourself also from the knowledge, from your mindset, and read on breastfeeding more, and also talk to other mothers. Talk to your colleagues who are also mothers themselves. How did they cope with breastfeeding at work? Okay, so this is what we call mother to mother support. And you can also see counselors, breastfeeding counselors and lactation consultants that we have in Malaysia. All over Malaysia we have. So you can talk to them and get your concern across and then get it sorted out before you're going back to work. And then you have to know how to pump, how to store your breast milk, okay, how to actually manage the express breast milk when you are at work. And then you have to also find the caretaker, the right caretaker that understands how to give express breast milk to your baby. That's very important as well. Okay, and also talk to your partner. Your number one partner is your husband. Okay, talk to your family members. Your niat to continue breastfeeding at work, because it is very important to get the support, because breastfeeding mothers, you cannot be alone in this breastfeeding journey. It needs to have a lot of support from people around you. Okay, and talk to your employers that you want to breastfeed. Tell your employees that you're going to have some breaks to express your breast milk. Talk to your colleagues and tell them I'm going to take some breaks in between, in a few hours, just to have my breast milk pump out for my baby at home. Okay, so and then from the lactation counselors or lactation consultant, get to know the best pump that is suitable for you, because certain mothers, their working nature is different, Dr. Prabha. Some of them might be just at the office, 9 to 5. Some of them, they might go for a lot of meetings. Some of them might need to go out from the office, like engineers. They have to go to the sites. So, what are the best equipments that they need to use to help them to express their breast milk if they are on the go? So there's a lot of technologies right now, a lot of breast pumps models in the market. Yeah. So there's when my time we only have a breast pump that we need to just hold at the chest. Now we have hands-free pumps. They just put it. Sorry, I just going to talk. I'm going to explain a little bit more. They have to put the breast pump in their bra. That's called a hands-free bra, a hands-free breast pump, wearable, whereby the machine is attached to the pump, so their hands are free. Then they can move anywhere they go with the breast pump, so they can continue working while meeting people, while at the site. So the technologies right now is a lot. So if a mother comes to me and say I cannot breast pump while working, there shouldn't be any reason why not, because of this technology that is existing in this world. Okay, so and then if you have any problems that arise during the working, during the breastfeeding, get help fast, solve it. Okay, so because I have some mothers who actually had to skip the schedule of pumping, end up having mastitis and blocked duct. Okay, just because they missed one of the schedule because they had to go for a meeting, something like that. So now they need to learn what is their working schedule, how are they going to put breast pumping breaks into their schedule, and if let's say they have a meeting, they need to adjust their schedule. So this is actually management. So knowing how to manage your pumping breaks and also managing the EBM, the express breast milk, is very important. Okay, so that is the tip, very short tip of how breastfeeding mothers can continue pumping at work and the preparation.
Sure, sure. I'm sure there will be many more tips in your Facebook page, in your company's website, and I know you are also sharing a lot of information. Friends, the link to Dr. Zarina's Facebook page will be appearing soon. So please take this opportunity. And listening to you, I realized a lot of, especially young mothers and their husband, the amount of effort they put for preparing for their wedding. It
Mm.
could be a mega project. We just had my daughter's wedding. I know the complexity of the video, the Instagram, the decoration, etc. Appreciate that. It's a beautiful day, and we should all celebrate. But you reminded the preparation for breastfeeding to be treated, for lack of any other word, as a project. In project, procurement is a very important aspect. If you buy from the wrong supplier, the whole project can be affected. And you
Correct.
created awareness, the the depth of technology in terms of the specification of the breast pump, in order to get for the right job, the nature of the job, the nature of the mother. So get help. And especially giving birth can be so tiring. If immediately after a tiring process, then you start worrying about breastfeeding, you may not be ready. And at that time, unfortunately, people may go for easiest alternative, the formula milk. And once we get used to an easy alternative, we may miss the opportunity for the best option available. So mothers and the husband and the support system and the employers, I hope all of us realize, and I'm sure we all realize, but even Lionel Messi requires coach sometimes, all the time. Even Dato Nicole David at the peak of her career, she needed coach. So all of us need reminders. And Dr. Zarina has brilliantly reminded us that the process of preparing to giving birth, the 9 month of the pregnancy, besides choosing the name, besides choosing the playroom, besides choosing the baju, I
Ah,
hope more awareness or more attention is given to get the mother ready for this, perhaps the most critical journey in developing the baby and the developing the future leaders of the world. And the foundation of learning starts, as you rightfully mentioned, with the brain development and so on. So really appreciate this. And my friends, Dr. Zarina's Facebook page is on the screen. Please optimize this. And Dr. Zarina, I'm aware of time. I hope no patients waiting there, but let us take a few more minutes. Well, I was talking to Sita, my wife. She mentioned the support system we had when we were, expecting our first baby. In fact, I recall attending a course organized by the Royal Malaysian Navy Training Center where I was serving. I'm
mm,
so glad my organization 30 years ago
mm.
had the wisdom of conducting workshop for future young parents like me.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
30 years ago we had a course,
yeah,
no? And unfortunately, looking at the statistics is only about 40%. I guess more courses is needed, but more
yeah.
importantly, like I tell my friends, ilmu tanpa amal sia-sia. So the idea is get the ilmu like from expert like Dr. Zarina, but more importantly, start amalkan, start applying.
Mm-hmm.
And during the process of application, we may have issues, we may have complexity, we may have confusion. That is where the support system from the expert Ministry of Health, healthcare professionals like Dr. Zarina and anyone else will be able to support. Let me ask you one question. How family members, especially husbands, can support the success of breastfeeding, Dr. Zarina?
Or the husband is a number one pillar for the success of breastfeeding. Yeah. So apart from mothers acquiring knowledge, of course, the husband and family members need to know what is breastfeeding all about. Okay, so they need to know that their words of encouragement is very important for the mother, especially during the confinement. Okay, so you never ever say to a mother, you tak ada susu ke? Tak cukup susu ke? Your baby is always crying. The baby is always crying. That is the issue with most families. They thought that baby cry because of milk alone. Then they will have the speculation that mothers have not enough milk. Okay, so that's the number one thing you should not do or say to the mother, and just encourage them and see if they are actually needing any help. And I believe now more husbands are aware about getting help, because the inquiries that comes in to my clinic is actually being asked by fathers, by husbands,
Nice.
to get an appointment for breastfeeding. So this is the thing. They need to learn that they are the pillar of breastfeeding. So support and knowing when to get help. Co-parenting is also very important. Like what you did with your wife, Dr. Prabha, helping out with the housework, work, let the mother rest with the baby, taking care of the other work, get that thing out of their mind. So that is also very helpful. And there is a research saying that there is some, I cannot remember the country, but they actually taught co-parenting to the parents, okay, and they found out that 97% of the participant of the study managed to breastfeed up until 12 weeks when they taught the co-parenting course to these parents. Okay,
Wow.
so that's really wonderful. When the parents actually know how to help each other, when the husband knows when to help the wife, that helps to make sure that the breastfeeding goes well and goes longer. Okay, so when you come for help, yeah, when the mothers come for counseling at the clinic or whatever, even at home, people some counselors do home visits, yeah. Like in gravidities, we also have an extension whereby I have breastfeeding counselors under me to help me to reach to the community. Because I cannot leave the clinic, so I will send them to the houses to help the mothers. So during the home visit or during the counseling session, the husband and the other family members should be together inside the session, because this is the time when we want to dissect what's the problem all about, and then learn how to solve together. So the husband should listen in and know then that that time, oh, this is what they need to do, or this is what the mother or the grandma of the baby needs to do. So I like it when the whole family comes for the visit at the clinic. I like when they have questions to me. The grandmother will ask me questions, the husband will ask me questions. I'm glad that they ask me questions so that I can address their concern. And with that, they are able to support the mothers when the mother is at home. Okay? So this
Uh,
is what you need to do, husbands and fathers out there.
Nice, nice. Congratulations to all the grandma, husbands, the entire support system for this mother. This is such an important journey. It's such a critical element of the entire family. For husbands, I'm so happy many of you are getting services like from professionals like Dr. Zarina, support the mother, support the wife. And in today's economically challenging situation, it also make pure business sense. Buying good, though there's no formula milk anywhere near breast milk, yeah, that's given. So buying so-called good milk is expensive. So putting the effort to learn the skill, it only does not only make us more responsible, more supportive, but it also make business sense. Dr. Zarina, you have given us such a clarity, at least at the awareness level that is required, that breastfeeding is such an important topic for lack of any other word for nation building. In order to build a good nation, we need good family. Community of family is what makes the entire nation. What would be your suggestions to the employers? I hope government officers, ministers, anybody who are listening, though there's a lot of initiative, yet the number speaks only 40%. We
Yeah.
are a digital literate country. We are a country with amazing healthcare services,
Mhm.
yet it's only about 40%. What can government and employers do to do not deprive 60 other percent of babies from this wonderful gift called breast milk? What is your advice to them, Dr. Zarina?
Okay. I am glad to know that Ministry of Health has this what we call Pusat Laktasi Kebangsaan. Okay, Pusat Laktasi Kebangsaan or the National Lactation Center is working very hard to train a lot of doctors and healthcare professionals in the government and the private setting about breastfeeding. Okay, and there are ongoing trainings for many many years. Okay, so they are working very well, and with this, hopefully that more mothers will get the help. Okay, so this is what the government should continue to do. Okay, just continue training, and there is still so many doctors and nurses out there not yet getting the training. Okay, so and we know that in the government they also have these home visits by the nurses after the mother is after the mother giving birth. Okay, so it should be at this time we must empower those nurses who do the home visits. Okay, to check also on the mother's breastfeeding techniques. Okay, and to see if the breastfeeding is going well. Because I know they are there to check the baby's jaundice, the baby's weight is increasing or not, how's the mother's condition. But the breastfeeding part, some nurses might do, some nurses might not do. Why not we empower the nurses? Every time they go for the visit, they also must check the breastfeeding. Okay, and if they find that this breastfeeding is an issue, refer the mother fast to counselors that can come over to the home, because the government clinics, they also have kumpulan sokongan penyusuan susu ibu. This kumpulan sokongan is actually volunteers who are lactation and breastfeeding counselors. So they can actually channel these counselors to the mothers at home to help with the breastfeeding problems. This is very crucial to give them the help from the very beginning during the first few weeks of life and the first few weeks of the confinement. And if you want to know, Dr. Prabha, all government hospitals are breastfeeding friendly hospital. What does it mean? It means that during the birth, the practices during the birth should be mother-friendly care that can lead to a successful breastfeeding. Okay, so some of the private hospitals are also breastfeeding friendly. So what the government can do is to train more private hospitals to become breastfeeding friendly hospital. So when they give birth, the gynecologist, the obstetrician, the pediatrician, the nurses are all in support for breastfeeding at the hospitals. Okay, so then when they are discharged home, they know that they have already some knowledge and have started initiating the breastfeeding from the hospital, and that they can continue at home. If there is any problem during that time, refer fast. Okay, so that's what the government is doing and should continue doing. And what about education to the public? I believe that the social media plays a role. I believe that the TV and the radio plays a role. So they can actually create more awareness on the benefits of breastfeeding through the televisions, uh, not just social media. And it should be the awareness should be created almost every day, not just during an event. So every year we do have World Breastfeeding Week, which is from the 1st to the 7th August every year. But during that time, Dr. Prabha, a lot of events on breastfeeding, campaigns, workshops being done. Why not we do that every month instead of waiting August? And so create the awareness throughout the year. Yeah, and I must say that the working mothers, they are getting benefits right now since we have increased the maternity leave. You know, before it was 2 months, and now it has become 98 days. So that's good for moms to have more chance to be at home with the baby, and they can start to establish the breastfeeding before they leave for work. Okay, and
Very nice.
let's try to increase the paternity leave. The maternity leave has increased from that to 98 days. Why not? Yes, before it was 3 days for paternity leave, now it's 7 days. There's a lot of research saying even if the father gets paid leave, then the breastfeeding is much more successful. You know, so maybe 7 days is not enough, maybe a month. But then we have to see back how about the productivity. If everybody goes on leave, then nobody is going to work. That's a little bit susah juga, yeah. But
Correct.
there is a chance because there's countries that has long paternity leave as well, and maternity leave as long as 1 year. There is paid maternity leave. Okay, and also I think employers, what you can do now is to create courses, breastfeeding courses for your employees. Okay, to understand, to make everyone understand how breastfeeding can work at the office. It's not the course should not be conducted to working mothers, but it's also for the other ladies who are still single. These are the ones that do not understand why my colleague have to go pumping breaks every time, why they have to take like half an hour off every 3 hours. So we need to make the other people understand the importance of why the mother needs to have that pumping breaks. Okay, so apart from that, like Dr. Prabha have mentioned about the facilities, yes, we want to have more breastfeeding friendly workplace. Okay, so have a nice breastfeeding room with a nice couch, with probably a water dispenser, and also a plug for them to use for them to plug in their pumping, their pump, so that they can actually pump at work easy and in a very nice place, you know.
Wow.
So yes, also lagi satu Dr. Prabha, I just want to add on flexible working hours that employer can do. I know if let's say they are able to make flexible working hours, whether they are able to let the mother work from home, or maybe they work from home a few days and then they come to work a few days, that would be a lot of benefit or a lot of impact to the working mothers who are still breastfeeding. And probably if it's possible to have a nearby taska, a nearby childcare near the office, whereby the the workers can send their baby just next door, and if anything, the mother can just run and see the baby. So peace of mind for the mother. So
Mhm.
those are the things that on top of my mind that I can think of on how all the stakeholders, can chip in to make
Wow.
breastfeeding much easier for working parents.
Wow. Listening to you, I recall an African proverb which says it requires an entire village to raise a child. No,
Mm-hmm.
and I recall 30 years ago, I'm so grateful to the nurses, the clinic kesihatan, the bidan, those days, when my wife, we are late 20s, they're all like kaka aunties. They were so supportive. Reflecting on it, sometimes kena scolding pun, but just like a mother who care, they were so
Yes,
caring. And I just like to take this opportunity to thank the entire healthcare services for the foundation they gave for us to raise our child. And I hope more people will benefit and realize the sacrifice, the challenges, and the limitation the healthcare professionals has. So appreciate them and focus on how to add value. And Dr. Zarina has given us such a crystal clear awareness from the healthcare professional's perspective, from the young mother's perspective, from the husband's perspective, from the employer's perspective, the significance of this extremely important aspect of raising a child, building the nation. And Dr. Zarina, on behalf of all of us, the listeners, and the entire nation, I hope all of us will take some initiative, because like it or not, all of us are stakeholders in this important subject. And I wish you all the best to create more awareness and empower more mothers, and I hope very soon more employers and the government officers and the government agencies to optimize your passion, your expertise in this wonderful service to the world. And I'm sure there are friends preparing to balik kampung for Hari Raya Aidil Adha. And on behalf of all, thank you for all the pengorbanan to the mothers, and you guys are awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Zarina. We're looking forward to meet you again soon. Thank you,
thank
guys. Thank you to all the listeners.
thank you, Dr. Prabha, for having me.